What's happening? How we doing?
We're good, man. We're good. We're in the middle of summer, Hale, and some folks around here call it the summer of Shane. We'll see, but we know official visits happened last weekend. We've got more this upcoming weekend, and you're the man for the job to tee it all up for us. My understanding, based on your reporting and some things from JC and some things from Tony, is that this past weekend on campus went about as well as it possibly could have.
Yeah, they being the staff had 4 or 5 months to prepare for this weekend and get things in order. And I from all accounts from over there in that building, I think they feel like they executed very well. Now, what the results look like, a few weeks down the road, month, 2, 3 months, December, who knows? There's a lot to play out with most of these guys who are going to be taking other visits here the rest of this month, and maybe some will continue into the fall. We'll see, but the feeling is that the staff did a good job, and based on some of the stuff that I've heard from the guys who are in visiting, and those close to those guys, family and whoever else within their inner circle, I think that those things that I'm hearing speaks to that things went well and that it was a solid weekend. So now we'll quickly turn the page to another weekend. They had 8 guys in this past weekend. They'll have 9 coming up here starting on Friday. So little bit of a break for the staff, so to speak. Though they're certainly working. They're not like taking any time off. I think Coach Beamer said on 107.5 on Friday that they're going to be working for like 25, 26 straight days. So they'll be hosting a couple camps into this week, Thursday and Friday, and probably about the time they wrap up on Friday with camp, they'll be saying what's up to the next round of official visitors. So a lot going on right now.
Yeah, you pointed out too. I think it was last night in the VIP room, the financial side of things. Hale, I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, it's a part of everybody's recruitment now. But I feel like last year when we had this conversation, and even the year before when we had this conversation, there was some, I don't know if it was anxiety, not from you necessarily. You don't seem like a very anxious person, but just some anxiety out there about, okay, does South Carolina have the money when these conversations arise? How do they deal with that? There's a lot of people that maybe thought that they were behind. I think they were behind at one point in time. But we don't really have those conversations anymore, Hale. It just seems like, I don't want to say all is well. I mean, you always, feel like you need more, and I get it. But South Carolina, certainly it looks like the progress they've made on that front. We know rev sharing is coming, but from an NIL standpoint and those things, they generally, I mean, you look at all these top players that are coming in, wherever they go, they're going to warrant some sort of significance from a financial standpoint. It looks like South Carolina has well prepared themselves to be able to be in the game with all of that. Is that true?
That's what I understand. Yeah. And I think maybe some of those anxieties, like you said, JB, a year ago were probably largely tied to the 5-7 record the team had in the 2023 season.
Good point.
And obviously the team won, they won 9 games last year. So that certainly affects a lot of that, I believe. And while there is some merit to it, like they did have, there was a point when South Carolina did have to kind of catch up, so to speak, in that regard. But I think they feel like the infrastructure is in the spot now to where they can compete when they feel like they really need to compete and do the things that are necessary in this day and age to get talent and to retain talent for that matter. Again, going back to the anxiety thing, I think a lot of it last year was still kind of a hangover from what happened after the 2022 season going into the 2023 season when some guys left and there was just the feeling like, hey, well, South Carolina can't keep up. Well, that wasn't all the way true back then. But anyway, nonetheless, it's at a spot now where uh, they've got things pretty well in order. They're certainly not at the top of the heap when it comes to that stuff. I mean, it's always going to be the big marquee brands like Texas and Ohio State and even Miami to a degree, places like that. And then sure there are others as well. But yeah, I mean, South Carolina's kind of where they should be, where they need to be, in my opinion, with all that stuff. And there's also, the unknown of what this rev share stuff will look like. It still hasn't passed. I mean, I don't know when it will or what it's going to look like. I don't think anybody really does. So yeah, there are certainly some questions that everyone has across the country, not just here in South Carolina.
All right, just out of curiosity, when you talk to some of these prospects and their families, if you do, hey, I don't know who your sources are and all these things, but in doing your job, I would imagine you have to get some sort of feedback directly from the camps of the players that are interested in this program and that the program is interested in. What is if you could briefly summarize like one general point that is seemingly the majority of them make their lasting impression on South Carolina when they depart from their officials and unofficial visits here on campus. Is there one particular thing that you feel like comes up more often than not?
Well, just the people that are here, and
yeah,
from Shane Beamer on down, there's a good collection of folks who are able to relate and build relationships and do those fundamental type things that are part of recruiting still, regardless of all the money stuff. That those things do matter, like, because if money's equal, which theoretically it will be one of these days with revenue sharing, there's got to be something that kind of breaks the tie, I guess, and it's just the good old fashioned recruiting and connections personally and that type of thing. And while a lot of stuff these days can be transactional, that side matters too, because at the end of the day, it's parents are sending their kids off to a school, regardless of how well they're being taken care of from a financial standpoint. I think most parents and grandparents and whoever else is the guardians for these guys, they want their sons to be taken care of from a personal standpoint and looked after and cared for, not just given a paycheck every 2 weeks or once a month or however frequent those roll in, and that's that. Like there's got to be a little more to it than that. And I think that can get overlooked a little bit these days, and in some cases, probably rightfully so. But that component is important, and it's not lost. Certainly not lost on Beamer and this staff. They continue to do a good job of making sure they check those types of boxes as well.
No, it hadn't wavered from what he said from day one. We're going to build the culture, and the rest of it will follow, and it has. So if you have a culture and you're winning, and then obviously the financial piece is there, you feel like you got a shot to go get the guys that you want to go get. So let's talk about some of those guys. Let's start at the defensive end position. Carter Meadows obviously is just a huge name. What is your impression of how his visit went, and where do you think the Gamecocks stand?
Yeah, I'm told it went great. I mean, as you would expect when you're a big marquee name like Carter Meadows, they're going to make sure that you're looked after and taken care of, and get all the necessary love and attention and all that stuff like that. That's always going to be the case, and I think that going back to the spring game when he was in town for that entire weekend, it kind of set up for this official visit weekend, and I mean I think it went great. That's what I'm told. I have not spoken with Carter Meadows or anyone from his like inner circle, I guess, but yeah, from my contacts, it went well with him. There's just a matter of now sitting back and seeing what happens on these other visits. He's got Michigan, Penn State, and I can't think of the fourth team that's in the mix for him off the top of my head right now.
Ohio State.
That could be it. But yeah, so it's some heavy hitters from the Big Ten for sure. But Carolina is the only SEC school, and you got to feel somewhat good about that. Him being a DC guy, there's obviously been some success for South Carolina in recruiting that area as well. So yeah, we'll just, like I was saying earlier, just have to kind of wait and see how things transpire with some of these other schools he's getting ready to visit here this month.
What's his relationship with? I know they have one, but how strong is the relationship with Dylan Stewart?
Yeah, I don't know that they know each other from like being back. I don't know that they grew up with each other or anything like that. I don't think they did.
Just kind of aware. Yeah.
Yeah, they've just kind of, from what I understand, just gotten to know each other as Meadows has been recruited to South Carolina. So yeah, Dylan Stewart's certainly been around him those couple of times that he's been down here visiting.
How about the pride of Towson, Maryland? Corey Adams, again, a very highly touted 4-star corner. Where does South Carolina, in your opinion, stand with him after his official?
Yeah, Towson being in Baltimore, for folks who aren't too familiar with the geography up there in Maryland. But yeah, I mean, Carolina, as it was kind of framed to me before the weekend began, was Carolina was probably in it better than a lot of folks sort of assumed, just given who all is involved with him. And it's it's pretty tough. Like he's got Notre Dame, Penn State again. He's going to go out to Oregon before the summer's over. So again, more like big name marquee programs that are tough to compete with. But things went well this weekend, and we'll see again. He's got more visits to take, and I tend to think that it's kind of a long shot for Carolina. But again, like I said, coming into the weekend, the feeling was that the Gamecocks were in better shape than maybe some perceived, and I think it's safe to say I'm one of those folks who have had that perception.
Another corner, KJ Johnson, out of Birmingham, Alabama. I think, Hale, I think that 247 Sports has him maybe as a 3-star. I'm not too sure. But, JC mentions often around here, if there's a guy in the state of Alabama that Auburn or Alabama have significant interest in, it's hard to get them. It's hard to get them out of that state. KJ, where does South Carolina stand with him? And do you know what the interest level is for the two in-state programs, the Tigers and the Tide, for his services?
Yeah, so I think South Carolina's in a really good spot for him. And that was before this past weekend began. I don't know if he lists offers from Auburn or Alabama. I don't think he does. Okay. Because his top 4, I guess, is South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and West Virginia. And that might be the order. I don't quote me on that being the order, but he's said in the past in various interviews that he's got South Carolina and Ole Miss as his top 2. And again, I feel like Carolina's in a really good spot with him, and he sort of fits that profile that Torian Gray looks for at cornerback. Taller guys with long arms who can run and cover ground. And yeah, I think regardless of where he's ranked and rated as a 3-star, when you can check some of those boxes that you look for at that position, you may not worry so much about the rankings and stuff for the folks who are like, oh, well, Corey Adams is a 4-star and the number 3 guy in the country, like, or the number 3 cornerback in the country, like, got to get him. Well, KJ Johnson's the 3-star, and I think he's like 56 or whatever among cornerbacks, but they look a lot alike. So at the very least, you could maybe feel good about that if you end up with KJ Johnson and Corey Adams, go somewhere else.
Torian Gray wants him, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
if Torian Gray wants him, I think everybody can probably sleep okay at night. That guy seems to have a clue of what he's looking at. How about JB Shabazz? Where do things stand with him?
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot as well. He's visited Carolina several times over the last year or so. I think they offered last May or May of last year. So he's been to campus a bunch, and just based on the other teams or compared to the other teams who were involved with him, South Carolina has been on him longer and stronger than anyone. Probably the biggest development, at least in my opinion, with him is that he was supposed to take an official visit to North Carolina coming up this weekend, and that's off. He's not going to take an official visit to North Carolina as previously scheduled. He was previously scheduled to go to Auburn, and there was a point when I wondered if it was going to be tough to beat North Carolina just because he's a in-state guy for them. But they're not in the mix. Auburn's not in the mix. Ohio State still is. That official visit's been scheduled for a little while now, and it's still on the books. And he'll go to Penn State this weekend. He's got NC State and Tennessee. I can't remember the order of all those, but those are the contenders for him with Carolina. But I think the Gamecocks are in a good spot. Like I said, the stronger and longer theory is kind of working in play here. And proximity to home is another factor for him. I don't know if he's a guy who wants to stay close to home necessarily, but at the very least, Columbia is closer to Kernersville, North Carolina than Columbus, Ohio, or Happy Valley or some of those other places. Well, I guess maybe Raleigh's closer, but I don't think NC State. NC State's, I think, not to get off on too much of a tangent here, but I think NC State's gearing up and really pulling their dollars together for Will Wade in the men's basketball program right now. I think that's kind of where the priority might be for them in a lot of cases.
Oh, well, good for them. Good luck with that.
Hey, that's a strong ass head coach, man. They'll win a lot. They'll win a lot of basketball games.
Well played. All right, Pierre Dean, the kid who switched from the offensive line to the defensive line, I guess, to the tackle position. I did see Tony this morning. Also had a report on him. What's the latest there?
Yeah, so he was in this past weekend. Ohio State and Georgia are the other schools in his top three, which he's announced. Georgia was the initiator of all that transition from offensive line to defensive tackle stuff for Dean. So to me, that kind of gives me pause for South Carolina and how good of a shot they have at landing him. But by all accounts, like, things went really well with him this weekend. As we've talked about before, he's visited several times. He came to a camp, I think the summer before his sophomore year, maybe. He came to a camp and of course, worked out as an offensive lineman. I think that's when they offered him. And we're recruiting him as such. There was a little bit of a drought, I think, between visits, but, he came in for a bowl practice this past December. And I guess he was back in April of this year as well. I think the day before the spring game or a couple days before the spring game. So he's clearly interested in Carolina. But yeah, I'm just a little leery of Georgia, given that, they did plant the seed, so to speak, with him and moving to the defensive side of the ball in college. And plus his brother, Jared Wilson, played center for Georgia and is now in the NFL. So it's not like he's still there. They'll be teammates down the road. That's not the case. But yeah, I think Carolina certainly helped their cause this past weekend for sure.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? Official visitors from this past weekend?
Yeah, there are a few others. Amari Thomas, the running back from Florida, is committed to Florida State. Travis Johnson, receiver from Virginia.
Yeah.
Anthony Baxter was committed. Yeah, there are a few others.
The kid from Florida State, or who's committed to Florida State, what was that visit all about?
What do you mean by that?
I just mean, it kind of snuck up on us.
Oh,
Is this have they been in the game with him the whole time, or what's going on there?
yeah. I mean, they've been in the game with him for a little while. So it was the visit had been scheduled for some time, but it was one that South Carolina was trying to keep relatively quiet because of Florida State, him being committed to Florida State and not wanting that staff to, get in the way of the visit happening. He's from the Panhandle area. I think just a little bit west of Tallahassee is where he lives and goes to high school. So, pretty close proximity, right? So there's some just trying to be careful on Carolina's part to make sure they could make the visit happen. And he did visit in, I think it was March or April, during spring ball, came up to Columbia for an unofficial. So not a very new relationship there, but things have been trending in that direction for the last few months. And so yeah, that's kind of my answer to your question, I think.
And they feel like they're still either as much in the game or more now that
I mean, I think so. Again, like things went really well this weekend with everybody. And he's going to take an official visit to Florida State, scheduled to before the end of this month. And he's also got officials to like Kansas State and Kentucky, I believe, are some of the other schools that are in on him. So he's definitely been looking around. I mean, I think he committed to the Noles in January. So, it's not like he's been committed for a very long time and is just suddenly having second thoughts. Like he's been committed and entertaining other options for a good little while now. So,
what kind of tailback is he, Hale? Is he
honestly, I've not watched his highlights. The production's really good. I've looked at his stats. Obviously, he's put up some good numbers. I'm not too familiar with the level of competition he faced last season. He transferred. I think he was at Mariana High School as a junior. Then he transferred to, I believe it's Bluntstown High School is where he's at now. So I'm not familiar with the level of competition. Like I said, I haven't watched his highlights yet. So I definitely need to do that, obviously. So I can't really speak to much of that, but I think he's like a 5'10", 185. So not like a big back. I don't think he's going to be the type of guy who looks like some of the guys that South Carolina has on this roster right now, like Jawarn Howell and Matthew Fuller, who are, in the 215, 220 range. I don't think he's going to get that big in college. So I would think probably a little different, if for no other reason that he's just I don't think he's going to profile as that large of a running back.
Voice you hear and the face you see. Hale McGranahan with the BigSpur.com. All right, Hale, you already laid out the fact they've got camps coming up at the end of the week, and then I think there's 10 official visitors expected in this weekend or something like that. That number could change, obviously, but somewhere around there. The highlight of that group will be a former commitment, Landon Duckworth. He is a top 50 national prospect at quarterback, and he is the pride of Jackson, Alabama, which is just north of Mobile, for anybody wondering, and just west of Dinosaur Adventureland. Go to Google Maps and you can find that. I know that, look, JC talked about him yesterday and the reasoning behind his crystal ball for Landon Duckworth and things of that nature. But this is, I don't know, how do you feel about that, the situation, South Carolina getting him on campus this weekend? Are we on commitment watch or recommitment watch for him? But also at the same time, Hale, a guy who commits and then decommits, I feel like it's pretty rare, months down the road or a year down the road or whatever it is, to see him hop back in the boat with the same program that he was once in there with. So kind of expand on that for us. And how South Carolina, from the day that he decommitted, never wavered and just kind of stuck to the plan and stayed on him.
Yeah, so he's one of 9 guys will be in this weekend, and generally that's how it goes. A guy decommits from one school and he ends up somewhere else. But as we've seen this recruiting cycle, Jared Curtis, who was committed to Georgia, then decommitted, has since recommitted to Georgia. So not totally unprecedented, especially at quarterback for 2026. So when South Carolina had him committed, like they were still recruiting Jared Curtis, and I think all along they kind of knew that the commitment from Duckworth might be tough to hold on to. For one, because he committed so early on in his high school career. I guess it was the summer before his sophomore year, which that was very unprecedented. I mean, I don't know that South Carolina's ever gotten a quarterback commitment that early on in the process. So, he decommitted. I guess it was last summer, in the last spring. I can't remember exactly when it was, the timing of it. And things kind of cooled off for a minute, but South Carolina continued to recruit him. Obviously, Dowell Loggins was kind of running the show there, and Mike Shula took the baton. And there was a gap, I guess, between his last unofficial visit and the one that Duckworth took this past April. And to me, kind of as time passed and that gap got wider and wider, I was like, hey, yeah, he's got the official visit scheduled, but they need to get him back for an unofficial visit before then. And he'd been pretty consistent, Duckworth, that is, in telling me that he was going to get back. He was planning to get back. He just had to make time. I mean, he plays football, obviously, but he also is a basketball player and he runs track. So he's a pretty busy guy, right? He's got he doesn't have a lot of free weekends, but he was able to find some time in the middle of April and get back to Columbia. So that was a good thing. And I think that really kind of led us to the point where we're at now, that not only is South Carolina still being kind of considered, like they're firmly in the mix. And so he'll come in this weekend. He's got, I think, Florida State and Ole Miss obviously coming up next on his schedule. He went to Auburn. I guess it was last week or the week before that. There's clearly some competition, but momentum has been slowly building here, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'd put him on commitment watch for this weekend, but certainly wouldn't rule that out.
Ooh, well, he's not the only one. You got the Harris brothers. JC put in crystal balls for those guys as well. Hale, what have you learned about them? They're coming in this weekend too. Yep.
So Aiden, I had trouble with this about a month ago because it was still relatively new with South Carolina getting back in on these guys. So Aiden Harris, twin brother of Andrew Harris. Aiden is a 4-star defensive lineman who's being recruited to play tackle for South Carolina and others. Andrew, who is listed as a 3-star defensive lineman, is being recruited to South Carolina as a linebacker. And I think some other schools are maybe looking at him as maybe a defensive end. But Aiden's a tackle. Andrew's a linebacker. And things have been really going in a very positive direction for those guys for really the last couple months for South Carolina. And it just kind of came up out of the blue, really. I mean, they've had offers for a while. I can't remember exactly when they were offered, but they've kind of been sort of off to the side a little bit, not by South Carolina's doing it, just there wasn't a lot of mutual interest, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But things really heated up, and NC State has been involved with them. Ohio State at one point was thought to be like the big dog for Aiden in this race. And Auburn has been involved as well. Penn State too. But yeah, South Carolina is quietly, well, not really quietly, but has really been able to build some momentum. And within the last few weeks or so, we've been saying at the Big Spur that that South Carolina is looking pretty good. So I think it was maybe this past weekend, Aiden sent out a tweet saying he's looking to commit soon, and they've been pretty adamant all along the way that they want to go to the same school. So if Aiden's looking to commit soon, then I think that means probably Andrew is too. So we shall see what transpires.
Yeah, you wonder because I learned that about them, the fact that they do desire to play together, and you wonder. I mean, they're not dumb, Hale. Like they'll probably be able to quickly figure out if somebody is recruiting one and kind of recruiting the other just to get that one. I don't even know if that's still like a big deal these days, but I know it used to be. You do have money and stuff like that involved now, so it might not be financially feasible. And then you could probably also figure out if there's a school that wants both of you. No, we want both of you, and here's why. I'm sure they're able to read between the tea leaves on that when in recruiting. My understanding of all of this is South Carolina truly wants both of these guys. And if that's the case, they need to call in the Brinkleys. I've already said this. They need to get the Lindsay twins back on campus. And you get these guys in there and rough them up a little bit and make them, pin them down, make them say we're coming to South Carolina, and then that's it. It's over. You've done your job. Because this is a twin deal here, right? So you got to get the twins involved.
Yeah, hey. The director of twins, Jamie Bradford.
Well, I've got twins. Yeah. No, so I would be able to, especially the Lindsays. You know what I mean? Like, look, Jasper and Casper, they're going to show you around the football stuff. We're going to show you around 5 points. And then you get the best of both worlds, and before you know it, these guys are signed, sealed, and delivered. All right, what else? Who else is on the plate this weekend, Hale, that we're expecting to see in? I know you mentioned Noah Clark. I think did I just see that he was planning to make an announcement in early July?
Yeah, he's got July 2nd as his date for his announcement. Carolina was first offer him, one of Travian Robertson's first offers. After he got to South Carolina, I believe it was I guess Travian's been here since 23.
I think so.
Yeah, so I think Noah Clark got the offer like early on that football season. So yeah, that's a relationship that's been building all along, and not to get on too much of a rant about all the concern about Travian Robertson in recruiting. It does take time to build relationships. So when
you don't say
thrown into the middle of a recruiting cycle, it's going to be challenging to sign guys. A few months later, and he ended up, I think, at the end of the 2025 cycle, ended up doing pretty well with Xavier Hardy and some of the guys that they were able to land. So this is a big class for him, and Noah Clark is a big piece to the puzzle, pun intended, because he's like 6'4", 325 pounds. He's a large fella. Carolina's battling again. NC State, Notre Dame is in the conversation along with some others. But I think Carolina has a really good shot at pulling this off. You can't discount Notre Dame, especially with what they've done in this cycle in the state of North Carolina. They've done a great job in that state. And as we've talked about plenty of times before, there are a lot of really good players to be had, and Noah Clark is one of them. So, if South Carolina is able to close the deal and get him and Aiden Harris, for that matter, then you've got your big nose tackle and Noah Clark and a guy who's a 3 technique and can move around and disrupt and make plays and Aiden Harris. So that would be, if they're able to get that duo, that would be a nice complementary type of deal for Carolina and for Travian Robertson, obviously.
There's no doubt about it. I'm assuming we'll be expecting by the end of the week, at some point in time, Hale, you'll have kind of a one-sheeter up on the Big Spur with all the officials, right?
Yeah. I had a post on the board yesterday. There's some tabs that you can open within the football recruiting tab that you see on the front page that folks can navigate to the official visits, and it's got them all listed, all 9 guys.
You do a wonderful job, my friend. We're always glad to have you. And hopefully you're settled into your new home and baby's good, wife's good, Hale's good, all is good, because recruiting season is picking up and we know you're going to be busy over the next few weeks. So we certainly appreciate it anytime we can get you.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Craig, I got to answer Craig real quick. I'm going to go first tube to answer his question. Big first tube guy. And yeah, I don't think anybody else asked me anything in the chat box. I don't want to totally ignore those folks. Maybe that's how you roll, JB, but I'm a man of the people.